happening, people? What's happening? What's happening? What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Good people. It is your boy, SportsRap CEO, and I'm with y'all again on this beautiful Monday. All right, it's kind of nice out today. Not too bad. About 62, I think it was when I got out the car. So, nonetheless, we are here. It's a semi-victory Monday, if you will. My Sixers won last night. They beat the Nets, but they did what they were supposed to do, so I'm not going to take anybody giving me any flack about it. Sixers sit at 5-1 right now, and some things are going on. It's a beautiful thing right now. Talk about that in a little bit. As you know, it is Monday. Sports Rap, your boy, CEO, Sports Rap CEO. I'm here with y'all to talk to y'all about some things. Okay? It is Monday again. At Sports Rap CEO on Instagram is where you can find me today. All right, I'm not live in studio. I'm out of the house today. So, but Instagram, I'm up and running. Then I'm going to post a video later on, either today or tomorrow, as I always do, on YouTube, so you can catch up and find it. But again, I am on IG at Sports Rap CEO. Y'all know that. Y'all know where I am. So y'all can tune in and check in. As y'all know what I do, I always acknowledge my people when they check in and chime in. So, a few notes for you to begin. My guy, Coach Rich, as always, one of my loyal followers. Respect is due, and respect is given and earned. So definitely appreciate your support. Talking NBA. We're going to talk a little bit about this and a little bit later on down the line. But NBA official Scott Foster has also been arrested. I guess, in part of this gambling probe. But he was arrested for allegedly manipulating game outcomes for most of his 30-year tenure. The thing that I don't like about this situation is something that he blurted out as he was being arrested. And I quote, he said, "Did Chris Paul put you up to this?" End quote. We all know how around the league there's been talk that every time Scott Foster officiates a game involving Chris Paul teams lose. So everybody said that Chris Paul has something in for Chris Paul. I don't know how true that really is, but I mean, conspiracy theorists will run with it. But it is kind of true because I've seen it happen. And I've noticed it happen on more than one occasion. So that's that. The NBA G League players can now play in college. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then the NBA Africa. You know, the NBA has an African league. It's the BAL, Basketball Africa League. It was initially set in a tournament format. The NBA now plans to shift that league into a franchise-based model with 12 permanent teams. There's no actual target date for the start, but it's going to take a lot because they're doing that. So they're going to be soliciting and looking for like ownership and investing because each team is going to have a state of the art venue as their home venue and all of that type of stuff. If it's going to be a league model, a franchise based model. So it's a lot of work to be done there. So we'll see what happens. One quick note, we just ended the World Series on Saturday. The Dodgers repeated as world champions, but there's one particular player who has a unique stat. Dodgers Will Smith, believe it or not, has been on the winning end of the last 6 World Series championships. So the last 6 teams that have won the World Series, he's been on each one of those teams. You can take what you want. It's a unique stat, very, very unique stat. But talk about a journeyman that has reached the plateau of success, if you will. It's a beautiful thing. But, it is what it is. But again, like I said, I just wanted to bring that to you definitely because of it being a unique stat that I wanted to get out to you. So, moving into some more scores. We got some NCAA football, top 25, going back to Saturday. Number 25, Memphis over Rice 38-14. Number 10, Miami falls to SMU 26-20. Penn State falls to number 1, Ohio State 38-14. Number 9, Vanderbilt at number 20, Texas. Texas holds on and wins that in an upset 34-31. West Virginia at 22, Houston. West Virginia beats them by 10, 45-35. Number 16, Louisville at Virginia Tech. Louisville holds on 28-16. Number 2, Indiana at Maryland. Indiana handles their business 55-10. Number 12, Notre Dame at Boston College. Notre Dame does what they're supposed to do. 25-10, they take that. Texas Tech, number 13, at Kansas State. Another one, 43-10, Texas Tech. Number 5, Georgia at Florida. 24-20, Georgia holds on. Number 15, Virginia at Cal. Virginia takes that 31-21. Purdue at number 21, Michigan. Michigan just gets by 21-16. South Carolina at 14, at number 7, Ole Miss. Ole Miss holds on 30-14. Number 8, Georgia Tech at NC State. Georgia Tech falls 48-36. Number 18, Oklahoma at 14, Tennessee. Number 18, Oklahoma holds on 33-27. Number 23 at 23, USC at Nebraska. USC 21, Nebraska 17. And number 17, Cincy at 24, Utah. Utah holds on 45-14. In the NBA yesterday, Pelicans fall to 0-6. They fall to the Thunder 137-106. The Thunder remain, I think, the only undefeated team left in the NBA at 7-0 right now. The Hawks fall to the Cavs 117-109. The Grizzlies fall to the Raptors 117-104. Excuse me. The Lakers get by the Heat, 130-120. The Sixers beat up on the Nets 129-105. The Jazz fall to the Hornets 126-103. The Bulls get beat by the Knicks 128-116. And the Spurs fall to the Suns 130-118. Just real quick. Again, like I said, the Pelicans are 0-6. The Nets fall to the Sixers are 0-6. The Grizzlies fall without John Morant. There's something going on. I'm going to stretch a little bit and say with that young man. I don't know the full situation, but I did read that he got into it with his coach. He was suspended, which hence the reason that he wasn't there for their most recent game. But it's been just a string of issues over the last couple of seasons. And I don't know what's going to happen with the young man. I don't know what's going on with the young man. But I don't know, maybe somebody needs to talk to him and try and figure out what's going on. Because, you could arguably say he's on the verge of working his way out of the NBA. I don't know what's going on, but like I said, I'll do some research, and if I find anything, I'll definitely keep you guys abreast in all the information that I find. NHL yesterday, the Lightning and the Mammoth fall 4-2. The Blue Jackets fall to the Islanders 3-2. The Flames get by the Flyers 2-1. The Red Wings and the Sharks, the Red Wings hold on 3-2, and the Devils fall to the Ducks 4-1. All right. In the NFL. All right, going back to Thursday, week 9. Week 9 culminates tonight. All right. Thursday, Baltimore at Miami. Baltimore in the return of Lamar Jackson take that 28-6. Moving into yesterday's games. Chicago, Cincinnati in a thriller, somewhat 47-42. The Bears take that. Minnesota gets by Detroit 27-24. Carolina beats Green Bay 16-13. The Chargers beat the Titans 27-20. The Patriots get by the Falcons 24-23. The 49ers beat the Giants 34-24. The Colts fall to the Steelers 27-20. The Broncos in yet another fourth quarter comeback. They come back and beat the Texans 18-15. Jacksonville edges out the Raiders 30-29 in overtime. New Orleans gets beat up on by the Rams 34-10. Kansas City and Buffalo. Buffalo takes that 28-21. And in the nightcap, Seattle beats up on Washington 38-14. All right, tonight, again, like I said, culminates week 9, Arizona Cardinals at the Dallas Cowboys. Don't know what I'll be watching, but I don't know if I'm going to watch that game. All right, talk a little bit about some NFL yesterday. Like I said, semi barn burner, Chicago, Cincinnati. But for the most part, it's going to take a lot for either one of those teams to stretch and make the playoffs, I believe. Looking at Minnesota, Detroit, another division game, and I don't know how to gauge these two teams. The Eagles have yet to play Detroit. They play Detroit the second game after this week's bye, but they've already beaten Minnesota, and then Minnesota beat Detroit. Detroit does have some injuries, but looking at the game yesterday, I don't understand. I guess you could say the logic behind Detroit because it looks like they don't want to run the ball. It looks like they kind of want to be pass heavy, and you have a running back tandem that's solid. I mean, sometimes arguably more than solid in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So why not run these guys to set up your pass? But I guess you're saying we need to pass the ball to get ahead, then we can run the ball. Whatever. I'm not, again, like I said last year when they were running through people, I'm not scared. They don't scare me again this year. They struggled against Minnesota. And this is not to say that Minnesota isn't a good team. Excuse me. This is not to say that Minnesota isn't a good team. But Detroit struggled. And it should be a bit of concern. We're into week 9 right now, moving into week 10. So if you're Detroit as an organization, I'm not saying push the panic button, but I am saying there needs to be some conversations had concerning the state of that franchise right now. Moving on, Carolina at Green Bay. Carolina goes into Green Bay and beats them 16-13. You know, I've said this several times before in the beginning of the season, 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks in, a lot of people were giving Green Bay the title of being the biggest competition to the Eagles. I don't know if I still see that right now. I also mentioned that and this is just for conversation and dialogue, could their early success have been riding that wave of the Micah Parsons move? But they're, I think, 4-1-1 or 4-2-1, or maybe 5-2-1. But again, I don't know if they're still the biggest threat to the Eagles. Even more so with the trades that I'm going to talk about from the Eagles in a matter of days. With the trade deadline for NFL being tomorrow at 4 p.m. In 2 days, Howie made three trades. And 2 of them, people are allegedly saying questionable. One, no doubt, a solid trade. But I think 2 of them are solid. And I think the third one could emerge as being a solid one, depending on the usage of that particular player. All right. Indianapolis gets his first loss yesterday at Pittsburgh. Seattle, Washington. Washington has a big drop off from last season. Washington last season made it to the NFC Championship game. They went through a little bit of an injury spell with Daniels, and then they had another major injury last night. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but they have a big drop off from last season. And I mentioned to people, I told people a lot of times when I look at people, rookies that come into the league, bad year, good year, their first year or not, whatever the case may be. My personal opinion is I like to gauge them on how they do in their second year. When teams have legit pro tape on you, and can see you at the same speed. Because if you don't know, you don't realize, even though it's still football, the college football game and that pro football game, that speed of that game, overall speed of the game is a little different. And I kind of fought a little bit the coach and the coaching staff for that brutal, gruesome Jaden Daniels injury, because they were getting beat, and they weren't going to win that game. They weren't going to come back and win that game. So you could have just taken him out. Like, he's just coming back from injury. You could have taken him out, but you didn't, and his arm broke. And arguably, he could be done for the remainder of the season. I haven't seen any update, heard any updates as of yet, but there's a chance he could be done for the season. I guess if you had to pick a silver lining in that whole situation, it was not his throwing arm, so he could come back and play more football in the NFL. But we'll see what happens. Um, it's not like the end of the world. Of course, it's probably arguably the end of his season. And again, it just compounds what Washington's season has looked like. You could argue that they are a mess, but there are other teams that are fully engulfed in mess, that you really wouldn't give that to them. Like, for instance, the Miami Dolphins, a mess. The New York Jets, a mess. So, there's some teams that are worse. But when you look at like I always say, the grand scheme of things, it's tough. And again, people have caught up. Like, they have the tape. I don't care what kind of training he does. They test with the VR training and all that. Yeah. But now people have tape of you in NFL speed and game speed in the NFL. They now know how they can combat that, and they can come up with schemes and things of that nature to combat and try to lessen being hurt by your skill set. But again, the gruesome injury arguably didn't have to happen. Arguably, again, like I said, I somewhat fault the coaching staff, um, because, like I said, he did not have to remain in that game. They were not going to come back and win that game. No way, no chance at all. So for me, it was like no reason to have him still in there playing. And then, just by how you look at things, if you didn't see it, you probably won't want to see it. But it was a very brutal and gruesome injury. I mean, I feel bad for the young kid who had a very, very successful first year in the NFL, put people on notice in his first year in the NFL. Up and down second year, now injured in week 9, and probably won't see the field again until week week 1 of next season. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And again, like I said, you can't be too disturbed, because it wasn't like it was a rougher than football standard injury. It was a basic tackle. It was just the positioning of his arm and the way that the force and the momentum of both of their bodies and all of that weight, and it happened. So hopefully he'll get surgery soon. Hopefully he'll heal well and get better even quicker. So, since we're talking football, all right, I know I got my Sixers stuff on. We're going to talk Sixers in a minute, but we just gave you some scores and I talked some. And I mentioned to you all the NFL trade deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. But our Philadelphia Eagles, GM extraordinaire, Howie, GM Howie, GM God Howie. 3 trades, 2 days, and addressed the concerns that were going on with the team through those 2 losses, moving into the coming back and having 2 wins back to back. First trade with the Jets. The Eagles send John Mechie and a 27 sixth-round pick to the Jets for cornerback Michael Carter II and a 27 seventh-round pick. All right? So that's one trade. And people were people were a little confused about that trade and wondering how that trade could work. Could he be on the outside? Could they move him to the slot? Because he's ideally a slot corner, I'm sorry. Michael Carter II is ideally a slot corner. We also have Cooper in the slot. So people would initially were saying that maybe they can move Cooper out to the slot, out to the wide. And then, hey, my guy, Christian, what's going on, good brother? And have him play on the outside. But I think the slot and being able to be like, unquote unquote, the rover back there suits Cooper DeJean very well. He excels at that position. So I think they're going to keep him there and maybe try Michael Carter out at that outside, or maybe even if they get Jacorian Bennett back. Jacorian Bennett should be back off of injury, so maybe they use him on that outside. All right. But then second trade with the Ravens for another cornerback. The Ravens get a 2026 sixth-round pick. The Eagles, in return, get former Pro Bowl cornerback Jair Alexander and another 27 seventh-round pick. Initially, again, the hate begins, and people started immediately saying, oh, well, Jair's washed up, and he didn't play but maybe 2 games for the Ravens, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. Arguably, in my opinion, there's something to that. Okay. I don't think that it was the case that he's washed up. I think it was a case of being somewhere you didn't want to be. He's not injured. He was a healthy scratch in the last game. So if he can give us half of his Pro Bowl form, I think we'll be okay. All right. Then the third trade, early this morning was reported. The Eagles and the Dolphins. The Dolphins will receive a 2026 third-round pick, and the Eagles receive edge rusher Jalen Phillips. Something else that they were looking for. And I think they sent Jalix Hunt down there too with that third-round pick. All right. But now the Eagles have a front four that could possibly have Jalen Phillips, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith Jr. And in that middle, if you rotate out, you can rotate the returning of BG in that line. That defensive line now seems extremely formidable. They showed in the last game, it looked like they were putting some things together against the Giants. And I know that was a get-back game. We got our lick back right. But that was also a game where it looked like the defensive line was beginning to come together a little bit. And now you add in this young, exceptional talent in Jalen Phillips to what was already a solid defensive line, if you will. It gets a little scary. And like we said, if things can work out on that back end, we've already got our one side straight with Quinyanamo Bay. Hunt for Photos tune. Thanks for my man Dre. What's going on, good brother? We need that other side worked on. Like I said, all right, and somewhere down the line, we might possibly need another safety, but we can possibly get around that for now. So now that we bolstered that defensive line, now we can focus on that other side, the outside corner. And again, like I said, if Jair Alexander, former Pro Bowler, can give us half of what he was as a Pro Bowler, will be in good shape. And then also now you have him added into Jacorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson, and Keely Ringo, right? So now you have some depth at there. Although I'm still leery, I'm thinking our depth should stay with Jair Alexander and and Jacorian Bennett. When they got Jacorian Bennett from the Raiders, he was one of their better, if not their best corner. Right? He just got injured on us, so he's back on the active roster, and I just don't know when he'll get to play. But I think that should be our depth chart, and I think Keely Ringo should be at the bottom. Dory Jackson, that third cornerback in that rotation. Uh, the offense, I think, is now also beginning to come together. And I want people to just put a pause and stop with the AJ Brown trade, and the Eagles will probably have to trade him next year after the season and this and that. Listen, if you've never played a sport at a high level or a somewhat high level or at any level, and you never developed that competitive nature, there's something wrong with you. Okay. And I understand sometimes in the NFL, like they like to call the wide receivers divas, that they get a little bit in their head and in their own way. I agree. But for me, I run that up to the competitive nature. Okay. I feel like AJ Brown feels like I'm the number one receiver. I'm the best receiver out here. When we come out on offense, I need to be getting the ball. And I get it. It's been a long history of wide receivers that have been saying that they want the ball more. But to say now that he's saying that he wants the ball more and he's pouting a little bit, and then immediately people want to trade him. Let me tell you, people, you saw them, you heard the moves that Howie just made, right? All right. Good, solid moves. You know how good he is with the numbers on contracts and things of that nature over the past years. It's been put out quietly that A.J. Brown, if traded, will bring back the Eagles a $60 million cap hit over the next 2 years. Do you really think General Manager Extraordinaire Howie Roseman is going to be willing to do that and put up with the 30 million cap hit next year and a 30 million cap next year after he went through all of this in the offseason to clear the space to get all these draft picks, signing players for less money so that he can retain the stars that he has? Did I just say that? Retain the stars that he has. Listen, AJ Brown just won a Super Bowl here. I'm not buying it. Like I said, for one important reason, one big reason is what I just told you. That 60 mil over the next 2 year cap hit is not anything that someone or a smart GM, smart organization is going to want to do. It's probably more than likely not going to happen. What I said to some people when we talked about the offense and it being sluggish and things of that nature, what I said to some people, now I watched a few games then. I said to people, at some point, the Eagles kind of get in their own way with their loyalty and they hire within. And this is not for me saying that Kevin Patullo is horrible. I don't think he's horrible. Because, hell, he was allegedly the passing game coordinator last season. Okay. We saw in a couple games where they faked some tush pushes down at the goal line, the one with the sweep out to Saquon, and the other one with the little shovel pass up the middle to Dallas Goedert. So they said they needed to get a little creative. All right. The Eagles wide receivers were running just basic bland college routes, if you ask me. All right. Devontae Smith saw something in the Minnesota game, pointed it out. They went to it. They scored a touchdown on a deep bomb on a touchdown. Right. So it's going to come. right? We're in week 9, going into week 10. I think it's going to come. There's still some time for it to pick up. But again, what I was saying is I think the Eagles get too caught up in themselves and they hurt themselves with their loyalty at times. And sometimes when they need to go outside of the organization and make hires, they need to do that more. Look at what they did when they brought Kellen Moore in as the offensive coordinator. The offense exploded, and we went on to win a Super Bowl. The same thing happened in 2017 when they won the Super Bowl. Brought in Steichen and Gannon at the time. Offense exploded. Team went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. Coaches got poached then, and then again, Kellen Moore went after the Super Bowl. Kellen Moore went to the Saints to become the head coach. And people will say to me, and people have said to me, why did he go to the Saints? Like, he took that coaching job at State State and this and that. I tell people all the time, at that level, whether it's NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, if you've been a coordinator for a time, former player, you're also in the league, but if you've been a coordinator for a long time and you've worked your way up to people actually offering you a head coaching position, me personally, I feel like you have to take it because you never know if or when that opportunity will come again because it may or may not. And I understand the situation might be a bad situation. It may work out for you, it may not. But again, I say, it's not too often that people get poached and called to be coordinators. Head coaches. Obviously, people saw something and you're doing something right for them to poach you or try to poach you. So again, I say, for me, if that opportunity arises, you have to take that opportunity. Because like I said, the bottom line is you never know if or when it's going to come up again. And at that level, it is no room for allegedly or attempting to try and wait for the right situation. Because the right situation, if you do that, sometimes the right situation may never come. So again, if that things come, you got to take them, right? So again, getting back to the Eagles, I think the Eagles are good now, especially like I said with the trade today. I don't think anything else is going to happen. Like I said, the trade deadline is 4 p.m. tomorrow. So I don't think anything else is going to happen this quickly. But I think Howie made some really solid moves. Again, addressing the concerns over the past 4 weeks or 2 weeks, 2 weeks prior going into the most recent 2 wins. Addressed it, picked some things up, picked some pieces up. And again, some pieces that I think will work well in a Vic Fangio defense. So we'll see how soon these guys can come in and participate, the three of them. I'm really looking forward to Jalen Phillips and Jair Alexander. And I am slightly looking forward to, Michael Carter II, just to see how things switch up, if they switch anything up with Cooper or anything like that. All right, so we'll see what happens. And again, like I said, we'll be watching together and we'll be talking about them on Mondays and whatever days, Thursdays, Saturdays, whatever. Right. So, talk to me. Now I got my Sixers gear on, like I said. I said the Sixers are 5-1 right now. Major turnaround from last season already, right? And I've been talking to people and I've been telling people I'm taking it for what it's worth. But yes, I am excited about what's going on. I am loving the team unity and the camaraderie on the team currently. And one, let's talk Joel Embiid. We understand the surgery, we understand the injury, we understand the minute restrictions. All right. Joel Embiid has already had 2 games where he's played 20 minutes and scored 20 points. And he's doing that on a bad leg. All right. Once he gets healthy and they can gauge how he can go a little bit more gradually, the Sixers team could be very scary. And then don't forget, we're still waiting for Paul George and Jared McCain to return. The beauty of it is the rookie, Edgecombe, dog, Amazing. I didn't expect this much this early, but I'll gladly take it. The other guys that have been brought in are getting, in my opinion, valuable experience right now for later on. If you have to spell somebody for a few minutes or if somebody gets in foul trouble, you can buy some time with some of these guys because they'll have the experience from earlier in the season. Right. You also have to take into consideration one of the things that I have said about my beloved Sixers for years now, but they have finally done it. Guys like Trendon Wofford, Jabari Walker, slightly Quentin Grimes. The Sixers now have guys who, in past years, in their usual MO, is to have these guys that are like not household names, guys that are just here for that will probably just be gritty. Usually don't get the chance here. Now we have some guys that are getting the chance here and they're fitting in, right? One of the things I like about basketball is the fact that it's a team sport. One, it's a smaller knit unit than the other three major sports. And I'm giving at a time of on the floor. So like, in football, you got 11 on 11. Hockey, I think, is 10 on 10 or whatever. It's more than 5. And then baseball is 9, right? But in basketball, it's 5 on 5. One of the other things I like is the fact that the team is having fun. When you are having fun and winning, it makes a huge difference. Like I said, I got my guy on here, Andre, Hunt for Photos, played sports, played basketball. We played against each other in high school, played against each other in college and pickup games. But we know when you are having fun in that organized realm, when you're having fun, winning seems to become easier. And then also when you're having fun and winning, that just makes a lot more things easier. And then when you have the camaraderie that this team now has, that makes it even better, right? Because you never know how things may turn out. But again, like I said, you got a still slightly injured Joel Embiid on a minute restriction, right? And like I said, he's had a couple games where he's played 20 minutes and got 20 points. Talk about efficiency. Just imagine what he can do once he gets healthy, right? And I like the fact that Tyrese Maxey has been reported to be encouraging him because he's not used to this minutes restriction, right? He's still working into that realm, whatever. But Tyrese Maxey is still reassuring him that, look, we're going to get there. Like, look at it. You still hurt, somewhat banged up, minute restriction. You playing 20 minutes, getting 20 points. Good. Good stuff. We good. So then you got Paul George, not yet ready, and Jared McCain still to come back. And we know what the East looks like now. It's not as tough as it was last season. I mean, barring injuries and some trades and some free agency moves and whatnot, the East is not what it was last year. The Sixers team, although it's only still 6 games in, yes, I hear that and I know that, is not what we saw last year. It's a lot better than what we saw last year. So let's keep riding this. Right? Got the Bulls tomorrow night, looking to go 6-1. It's not going to be an easy game. I think this is going to be another tough game, another challenge for us. Like I thought the Orlando Magic game was going to be a good test for us. We passed that test. So hopefully Joel Embiid can get to play Tuesday night, and we can continue on our success. And eventually we get Paul George back, and eventually we get Jared McCain back, and we put this thing together and we make some type of run. We'll see what happens. Just stay focused with me. Believe. Like they said, that's not, I know it's old and cliche now, but trust the process. But trust what's going on right now. All right. So I mentioned to you all in my opening, I mentioned had a comment in there, some news reports about G League players being able to play college ball. Yes, it is true. It is a lot confusing how this played out, how this came to fruition. But let's see. Let's say the trend is a byproduct of the NCAA's definition of amateurism, loosening as college athletes have gained economic freedom. The line between pro and college athlete has blurred with the NCAA permitting athletes to profit from NIL deals and with the House settlement allowing direct revenue sharing from schools to athletes. So they've already crossed the line there with the NIL deals, and we've seen and heard about these NIL deals, and we've seen how lucrative they are. But he also said, for decades, the NCAA strictly refused to grant college eligibility to athletes who previously had been compensated to play their sport. But in 2000, they ruled Nigerian center Mohamed Lasage permanently ineligible to play for Louisville because he had previously signed a $9,000 contract in Russia. My guy, Mighty, Ivan, what's going on, good brother? Ain't nothing, homie. I'm happy, chilling. Uh, right? So that was that. Then they got another one. Dozens of young players have left European leagues for pro or developmental teams to take advantage of the platform of NCAA basketball. So now it's like these guys that have been playing in the G League and playing overseas are now getting their chance to come back to play college ball. There is a particular college coach who is against it and doesn't feel it is right. That is Tom Izzo, Michigan State coach. He says, Tom Izzo says, and I quote, I'm going to get myself in trouble. But I listen to people talk about how kids change. Kids aren't the problem. We're the problem. This was sprung on us again yesterday, where a guy can be in the G League for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden he's eligible. Most of my people knew nothing about it. I am not really excited about the NCAA or whoever is making these decisions without talking to us. Just letting it go because they're afraid they're going to get sued. To me, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. So, how do we feel about that? The NCAA is allowing players from the G League and overseas to come and play college ball and have some eligibility. That's what we're talking about. And before we know, college NCAA was supposed to be amateur. Um, and they wouldn't let players come if they had played or signed contracts like that overseas and things of that nature. That's why a lot of Europeans will play overseas and then come right to the NBA. But now they have the NIL deals, and we saw that these NIL deals have become very lucrative. So they crossed that line even more, and they're allowing G League players to play. Um, I I can't say that I like it. Kind of like I feel about the reclassification for high school kids. So now you have kids that may come in, they may only have a year or two of eligibility, but I have pro experience. So I'm like head and shoulders above my teammates, most of my teammates, and the majority of the competition that I'm going to be playing against. But again, there's that blurred line. Again, that has already been crossed prior to this, again, like we said, with the NIL deal and the revenue that is also being shared with the players from the schools. Omar Tyree, Philly's own. Excuse me for a second. If y'all don't know about him. If y'all don't know about Omar Tyree, y'all are not from Philly. If you ain't Philly, you should know about Omar Tyree. All right, world famous fly girl. And I'm just being humble. I'm just being nice by just giving that one. I'm sure he appreciates it. But just that one book, Fly girl. But again, like I said, if you watching this and you from Philly and you tuned in and you don't know about Omar Tyree, make sure you go to Instagram when you done listening to me and check out at only one Omar Tyree. That's Tyree. Make sure you do that. And tell them Sports Rap sent you. Getting back to it. It's weird, again, like I said, because now you're going to have some players that are going to come in that are going to have a major, if I can use that term loosely, a major advantage over the majority of their teammates and the majority of the competition that they're going to be now playing against. But again, how do you combat it? Again, like you say, when the NCAA has already crossed the line with the NIL deals. So how do you combat it? I don't think there's going to be any combatant in it, but I do also agree with some of the things that I just read to you about Tom Izzo said. Like, he felt like it was sprung on him. I felt like if this was going to be the situation, I think there should have been some type of meeting, some type of email, some type of notice sent out to all the colleges, letting them know what the procedure was going to be or what the procedure was going to possibly be. Coaches and teams and schools could have prepared a little bit better than being smacked upside the head with this information. It's just how I look at it. It's just how I feel about it. But we'll see how they take it and how they move on from that. All right. We also know the update on the WNBA CBA negotiations. There has been an extension, a 30-day extension, which I'm told that the players can terminate at any time as long as there's 48 hours notice. The players in the WNBA want better salaries and they also want revenue sharing, which I think they should get like the NBA and NFL and other professional leagues get. Adam Silver has been seen on Today's Show and he said that the WNBA will get raises. But what he did also mention was that it's going to be a specific number or some type of thing, significant number, he said. If I find it, I'll repeat it to you. Here we go. It says it's going to be in absolute numbers, which basically means that the WNBA just wants to try and give them raises. They're still not willing to get into the revenue sharing, which I think is a big important part for the players because there's so much money made off of the players. Just the raise sometimes doesn't do it. And again, this is why these women in back in the day used to go overseas and play when they're off season. This is part of the reason why these women some of these players started the Unrivaled League. So they can get some more of that revenue sharing. You know, I mean, there are a few ladies in the WNBA that have some other deals. Some of them brought in NIL deals from college. And then there's some of them that, and then there's some that have shoe deals. But the majority of them do not. The majority of them are playing basketball, putting their bodies on the line for an organization or a group organization as far as the WNBA is concerned that I feel like is not taking all of their issues at heart, not really being serious about considering all of their issues. And I think some things need to be done better. You know, I reported to you when I talked to you all back a while back when they talked about the plane conditions. But I forget the team, but it was but the one team that had to spend the night in the airport because their plane couldn't take off or something. It was a delay, and they couldn't go back to the hotel because the WNBA wouldn't pay for it. So they had to sleep in the airport. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, these are professional athletes. There's no way they should have to sleep in the airport. They're talking about expansion. Philly teams coming. They've already expanded the team to Golden State. There's a couple more teams coming. I know Philly is coming, I think, in 2030. But if you're talking about expansion, you have to give some type of incentive to these women. Give them some of that revenue sharing. Give them some of it. They're the ones that are out there playing. And I get it. The people are spending the money. But the fans are the ones buying the jersey, but the players' names are the ones on the back of the jerseys, not the front offices, not the WNBA executives. The players' names are on the back of those jerseys. So why shouldn't they get some of that revenue? I feel like it should be shared with those young ladies. I felt like that for a long time. I think it's going to come. Because I think the ladies are going to stand pat at WNBA. They're going to stand pat as a players association. I think they're going to stand pat and hold their ground. And eventually some things are going to change in that WNBA. I feel it coming. I can feel it. And I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to talk about it till it comes into fruition. All right. Week 9 tonight concludes. Arizona Cardinals at the Dallas Cowboys tonight. I'm going to give you the NBA games as well. There's one game on Peacock, but I think that's like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Nets at 7. So I'm like at which end of what I'm going to watch early this evening. I guess I'll finish the movie that I was watching. I was watching a pretty good movie on Stars. It was called Shadow Force. Method Man is in it. Kerry Washington is in it. It's a pretty good movie so far. I'm probably gonna have to rewind back some, catch up myself, and get back into it. But that'll probably be what I watch early. And then I think there's a late game. I'm not sure which late game it is, but late game. And I also think the NBA League Pass is free, like for this month or something. So if you want to check out some NBA games other than your local games, Sixers aren't playing tonight, so you could do that. All right. Scores. I'm sorry, not scores. NFL Week 10 picks. All right. This week, NFL Week 10 starts on Thursday, November the 6th. Las Vegas Raiders are at the Denver Broncos. No question, no burner. I'm taking Denver at home. Moving into Sunday afternoon games. Atlanta at Indianapolis. I look for the Colts to bounce back there. The Giants at the Bears. For whatever reason, without Scatterboo and without Malik Neighbors, I'm going to stretch this game here. I'm going to go with Chicago at home. I'm going to go with Buffalo over Miami. Tough one here, Baltimore at Minnesota. I think I'm going to go with Baltimore at home because I think Baltimore's going to play with a lot more urgency because they need these games now. Like just about every game remaining for Baltimore from their bad start is arguably a must-win game. Wow. The Browns and the Jets in New York. I'm going to stretch here. I'm going to go Cleveland because I don't know what's going on with the Jets again. Like I said, I feel bad for Aaron Glenn because I don't think he's going to make the entire season. New England at Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay at home, although New England is playing very well. New Orleans at Carolina. I like Carolina at home. Jacksonville at Houston. I think Houston's going to have a bounce back game at home. Arizona at Seattle. I like Seattle there. Division game, tough game, the LA Rams at San Francisco. I'm going to take the Rams in that game. Detroit at Washington. Quarterback situation is a little shaky. I'm going to take Detroit on the road. I'm going to take the Chargers at home over the Steelers. And next Monday night, you know I'm taking my Birds over the Green Bay Packers. That's what I'm doing. All right. Monday, we got moving into November, so we're going to be moving into NCAA basketball, right? So you know NCAA football and NCAA basketball, men's and women's, I only do top 25, right? So I got some schedules for you. Quinnipiac at number 5, St. John's. Central Arkansas at 25, UNC, my guys. Colgate at number 22, Michigan State. Number 3, Florida at number 13, Arizona. Mercer at number 18, Tennessee. New Haven at number 4, UConn. Southern U at number 14, Arkansas. Bethune-Cookman at number 20, Auburn. And Campbell at number 24, Wisconsin. Fairleigh Dickinson goes up against number 16, Iowa State. Lehigh goes up against number 2, Houston. North Dakota is in Bama to face off number 15, Alabama. Green Bay against number 19, Kansas. Jackson State at number 17, Illinois. Oakland at number 7, Michigan. South Carolina State at number 11, Louisville. Texas Southern goes out west to play number 21, Gonzaga. Villanova goes up against number 8 BYU, and Eastern Washington at number 12 UCLA. Oh, women's top 25. North Carolina Central at number 11 UNC, number 7 Duke at 16 Baylor, Norfolk State at Ole Miss number 12, St. Thomas at Iowa State. Forget what Iowa State's ranking is. Number 18 Vandy at Cal, Belmont at number 8 Oklahoma, Morehead State at 25 Kentucky, Grand Canyon at number 18 South Carolina. Unbelievable that South Carolina women's team is down at number 18. But I'm sure that's going to be some motivation for Dawn and her crew, and they'll surpass that. They'll jump up very quickly. Loyola, Maryland at number 10, Maryland. New Orleans at number 22, Oklahoma State. Southern U at 21, Iowa. Incarnate Word at number 4, Texas. And San Diego State at number 3, UCLA. In the NHL tonight, the Penguins, Maple Leafs, Oilers, Blues, Canucks, Predators, Blackhawks, Kraken. In the NBA, you got Bucks, Pacers, T-Wolves, Nets on Peacock, Jazz, Celtics, Wizards, Knicks, Mavs, Rockets, Pistons, Grizz, Kings, Nuggets, Lakers, Blazers, and Heat, Clippers. It's funny how I got to remember now where NBA games are, because they're on so many things. I'm just making jokes like, was the NBA jealous that all these other leagues have different, like the NFL has Prime and NBC and CBS and NFL Network. I don't know. I'm just picking. Anyway, thanks everyone that tuned in today. I definitely appreciate the support as always. You know where to find me. Instagram, TikTok, and Threads is at SportsRap CEO. Webpage, sportsrapradio.com. All right, sportsrapradio.com. If you typing it in for the first time, they might pop up Sports Rap Radio Show. Take this show out and go check me out. Also, Patreon, Patreon/Heat100Radio.com. You can get me there. You get exclusive videos. I got some shorts over there and some other stuff over there. Let's see. YouTube. Sports Rap TV is the channel over there. You know what to do when you get over there. And if you are not tuned into me on Instagram on Mondays, you can check replays of the show and some great music on the Heat 100 Radio stream, internet radio, that is heat100radio.airtime.pro, 24-hour music and some replays of some shows, my show and some other shows. Also, if you are a DJ, you can send us some clean mixes, MP3 format, to be played in rotation on Heat 100 Radio. Also, advertising and interviews. If you are a business, if you are a sports business or anything like that, or a black-owned business, or you just want to get something out that you have a voice and you want to talk, we have spots available for new shows, and we have spots available for advertising. Please, serious inquiries only if you're interested in any of that latter stuff, the advertising, sponsorship, DJ mixes, and all that kind of stuff. Send all that information to DSG. I'm sorry, not there. Send it to at SportsRap. Let me get it together. DM me on Instagram at SportsRap CEO. You can send an email to sportsrap@yahoo.com or dsg2266@gmail.com. If you send me a message, just ask me again if you can't get all that, and in the message, I will give you all that information again. Monday evening. Thanks for tuning in, everybody that tuned in. For everybody that didn't let me know that they were tuned in, I definitely appreciate you all as well. For everyone else that has been tuned in for the long haul, of course, you are appreciated. Be great on purpose. I will talk to everyone all week on social media, and right back Monday. Not next Monday. I'm going to be on vacation, another week off. So the following Monday, I'll be back in studio, but y'all know how I do. I'm going to give y'all something. If it's nothing but just scores or just some updates next Monday, I'll make sure I get to y'all, talk to y'all for a little second. Peace.